Familia, welcome so much to our live event today. We have an amazing special guest today, and we're going to be talking to of a special subject that sometimes we do not talk that much. We have a lot of things we have heard about COVID right now, influenza, but there's things that have been very well known to history, and they have a lot of things attached to it that sometimes they are not true. There could be misinformation, disinformation, and most of the times we have simple solutions that because we are afraid to ask or are afraid to comprehend, we just don't ask. Then I'm going to bring Natalie Bohem to join us today. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you today, Dr. Shapiro?
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I'm going to ask you a couple of important questions. How's the weather where you are?
It's very beautiful down here.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome. Natalie has been advocating for epilepsy, and that's actually one of the subject that we're going to be talking today. And let us know how you started with everything.
Well, I started my organization, the Defeating Epilepsy Foundation. I started the paperwork in 2019 and we launched in July of 2020. And the reason I decided to create my organization is I felt that despite the advancements we've made in technology and with medication and treatment, there still is a lack of education when it comes to epilepsy in our communities, and it has resulted in us having a very negative stigma. And I would like to see the stigma be removed and be able to create more educational and economic opportunities for people with epilepsy, as well as providing resources to improve their quality of life.
That's a great mission and something that we have seen outside that when we hear epilepsy, we have all this imagery in our brains, but most of the times we don't think about what's actually happening and how that starts and everything. But how do you got involved with everything?
Well, I developed epilepsy at the age of 2 due to a traumatic brain injury. And back in the 1980s, when I was a child, there really wasn't the advocacy for patients like we're starting to see now. It was more following the doctor's orders of take your medicine, do as I say, and just follow procedure. Well, because patients really did not have a voice at that time, it caused a lot of traumatic effect on the community by not being able to feel that there were medical professionals to listen to us. So we saw the need for advocacy. And I felt the best way that I can advocate for my community is to be able to step outside my comfort zone and show people who are able bodied who may not really understand what epilepsy is or that it even exists, that epilepsy, even though it's a complex neurological disorder, it's very common. 1 in 26 people have epilepsy, and 1 in 10 people will have a seizure in their lifetime. So, this is something that is very important for families to understand, educational organizations, our law enforcement, our healthcare industry, that this is something that has been around since the beginning of time. And we need to bring more acknowledgement and acceptance to epilepsy to help people who are battling epilepsy not feel that they have to live in silence or fear, and that they can be contributors to our society and show the potential and capabilities that they have.
And right now, Natalie, right now, we have been affected, everybody, directly or indirectly with the pandemic. How have you seen the conversation going with epilepsy during COVID times?
It's been very challenging because for many people who have epilepsy, epilepsy is a comorbid disease. So a lot of people have additional conditions such as anxiety, depression, PTSD, cerebral palsy, autism. So trying to get not just the physical help they need for controlling seizures, but also emotional and mental health can be very challenging. And one thing that we're finding is the impact that COVID is having on people with epilepsy. I myself had gotten COVID and I had long haul COVID, and I'm still feeling some of the symptoms, even though I've recovered. And I feel in time, this is going to be an area that neurologists and other doctors are going to have to really research what the impact of COVID is going to be on people with chronic illnesses, especially in neurological disorders, Is it going to worsen our condition? Is it going to change any brain function? What is going to be the outcome of this?
I hear you completely because a lot of my patients were asking, like, doc, I have epilepsy, I have asthma, I have all this, and different things, it's chronic for me. Do I get the vaccine or not? What do I do against COVID and stuff like that? But at the beginning, we clearly didn't have a lot of information. We thought that the best thing at the beginning was just to vaccinate and create that part. But right now we know that the more chronic, diseases you have in front of you and in your body, the most important is to actually get vaccinated to diminish what you're saying. At least the bad outcomes, the complications, and everything that we do not know about prolonged COVID, about other complications, about worsening of epilepsy, worsening of headaches, worsening of other symptoms around epilepsy and stuff. In what have you learned right now with this challenging times with handling the part of misinformation, the part of epilepsy and COVID right now?
I think the thing with the misinformation, I think that's been one of the biggest problems, both COVID related, because there's a lot of people who are afraid to get the vaccination. I myself, after having it, I did get the vaccination and I also got my booster. And I have to say that it was the best thing I did because even after I had COVID originally, I ended up, because I am immunocompromised, getting it again, but it was at a fraction of what I experienced before. And I truly feel that the vaccination has helped me to be able to recover and get better. So I think education is so essential to get out to patients with epilepsy on how to protect themselves from getting COVID, or if they have had COVID, how to deal with it. And one thing I would suggest, and I've done this myself as a patient, if you did have COVID and you're experiencing symptoms, write them down in a journal. It's so important to keep record of what you're experiencing, because I myself can say when I see my neurologist, if I don't have it written down, I'm going to forget to tell him exactly. So I know the best way that doctors can help us is we have to be able to communicate and let them know what's going on, because they can't help us or come to find solutions without getting the information from us.
And I'm going to give you a pro tip. And this is actually, if because I hate actually writing on my phone. I actually create voice messages for my doctor.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, then whenever I see them, it's like, ta-da! Just
I
like
love
when you're
it.
driving an automatic, car. It's the same thing. It's the same
Yeah.
process. You just automatic done, and it's a great idea. The part of actually coming to your doctor with previous information, because that actually helps um, start that conversation and getting involved in your own care. It's not that we're good doctors or bad doctors, but at the moment that you bring more information and you're actively asking questions and you bring stuff and doc, I read this in Dr. Google, but this is actually what the new neurologic journal actually showing, and this is the new medication that makes us work with you even better.
Oh, yes.
We
And that's
become partners, and that's the idea. And don't see you know I think that we need doctors that are not our as I call them, they are not the coach of the team. We need to be
yeah,
team players. We are here to
absolutely.
take care of you. Then it's awesome that all the good stuff that you're sharing with us right now. And by the way, everybody that it's actually hearing us in different channels, if you want to actually share or have some questions or send us anything, the chat is open and we'll be revising it, as we go forward. But yeah, that I love your the emphasis on that part. I'm going to take a
Mhm.
couple of seconds with you, and
Okay.
I want to go directly to your website, and we have a lot of interesting things here. Of course, like the idea of where you created all this stuff, and what things have you seen that works the best with all the projects that you are doing?
Well, the challenges we've had with some of our projects, at this point we've awarded a couple scholarships, and we're in the process of creating a grant program to help families who have loved ones with uncontrolled epilepsy to be able to help them with financial assistance to get a seizure alert dog. I find with some of the programs we're creating, it's so important for me to get the information out there to really explain why these services are needed, because
Bienvenido al canal de YouTube.
we have a lot of support for research and development, medication, you know, neurostimulating devices, which is awesome because they have brought us in such a long way. But I feel that we really at this point have not focused on the quality of life for the patient. And I hear people saying all the time, well, we're working towards a cure. I hope we get to that point. I hope, despite the many reasons that we can develop epilepsy, whether it's genetics, head injury, stroke, other complications. There's so many reasons you could develop epilepsy, or people sometimes don't even find out why their seizures started. But if we can focus on improving the quality of life for the patient, then we can start working towards the cure. Because if we're not helping the patient be their best and taking the steps they need, how can we find a cure if we don't bring everything to the table?
I completely agree with you. And one of the things that, and when we actually met, one of the things that we were talking is that epilepsy is not, doesn't distinguish what you love, where you're from, what you do. It doesn't distinguish absolutely anything. It actually
Yes.
just is. Then if you're Hispano or white or African American or Asian, or if you're human, you can have it.
Yes.
And that's one of the hardest things that we need right now to make sure, and that's one of the things that you were sharing with me, that you're trying hard to make sure that we're creating equity for epilepsy, that understand that this is something that will stay here, that will be here, and we need many services and many languages, and actually engage the community in order to actually improve everything.
Yes, and that's one of the biggest challenges, and that's why I'm trying to reach out to not just the epilepsy community in general, but also where I'm in the Inland Empire. We have a big Latino community, but a lot of them do not get the resources they need because of the cultural barrier and also the language barrier. And I feel, just as an advocate myself, just because someone speaks a different language or may live their life a different way, they should not be denied the educational resources they need or the advocacy or support they need for these reasons. And we find, I'm recently was reading a book for an advocacy course I'm taking about a young girl who developed epilepsy, who was part of the Hmong community and lived in Central California. They were not able to get proper translators for years for her and her parents. They were relying on a family member. Because of this, the parents really didn't understand the importance of the medication. The doctors did not take seriously the cultural aspects, and such as herbal remedies that they felt were best for their daughter. And because of this, it really had an impact very negatively on this young girl's health, to the point where she had severe case of status due to a sepsis infection and was declared legally brain dead. She only has now her brainstem function. And surprisingly, she's still alive today. And when I read about everything she was through, that most people, I don't know how she's still alive after reading this book and reading her story, how easily it can have such a fatal impact on a human being if we're not communicating and coming to the middle ground together and working as a team, like you said just moments ago. Doctors can't be the lead, but at the same time, we can't, I tell people, I said, you cannot expect doctors to create magic for you. They cannot just give you a script and bam, the problem's done. You have to be honest and straightforward with what's going on and realize, in order for everything to work, you have to make a straightforward effort. I mean, I can expect my neurologist, he's awesome, but I can't expect him to be a miracle worker. I have to exercise, I have to eat right, I have to focus on my mental health and well-being. If something's wrong, I have to be honest with him, because he can't do his job unless I'm honest with him.
You're opening that conversation that is so important for all of us. And my promise always for everybody, they know, I try to make it quick, sweet, and very informative. And I think that we're getting to that point on the conversation, that I'm understanding right now the urgency of this conversation. I'm going to share here on the bottom part, your actually.
The website.
Right. No, the other side. The website is
Yes.
here.
Yes.
We're just fighting it with my finger.
Ah,
And make sure that you create conversations with us, and we are here completely for all of you. And if you have questions and stuff like that, please go to the website here. Um, uh, Natalie, any last words? Any words of encouragement before we say goodbye?
I just like to thank you today for all your support, and I encourage anyone who's battling epilepsy, please reach out to us through our website. You can email us at info@defeatingepilepsy.org, and I am here to help you in any way when it comes to obtaining educational information. If you need help with an advocacy plan, any concerns you have, it's my job to be here for the community. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Thank you so much for that. And familia, please, I do have a comment here from de Guadalupe Osorio. Saludos, doctor Ilan Shapiro, siempre haciendo un buen trabajo en la comunidad y para la comunidad. Muchísimas gracias, Guadalupe, ahora sí, saludos. Y aquí estamos completamente para usted. Y le manda también saludos, Natalie. That she's sharing with us that thank you so much for being here. And that it's great that the community work that we're doing, and for the community, by the community. Then
Yes.
thank you for that, mi queridísima Guadalupe. And last but not least, I want to say goodbye to everybody. Que estén excelentemente bien. Thank you so much, Natalie. Just take a couple of seconds after I'm going to say goodbye, and we'll see you in a couple of seconds.
Okay.
Familia, well, we had a great conversation today. We were talking about epilepsy and the importance on our communities and the thing that is happening. You see here on this side, the website. Please enjoy it, go to it, have questions, create a conversation. And of course, remember, please, familia, that we need to get vaccinated against fear with a dose of truth. This is Dr. Ilan Shapiro, as always, the Chief Health Correspondent and Medical Affairs Officer for Altamed. And this is your program with Dr. Shaps, and see you soon.